you ever wondered what it would take to get your color pencil work from this level to this level? I'm going to give you a couple of tips on how you can do that. This is going to be part one of a two-part video series. The first tip I have for you is to think about the paper you're using when you play with color pencils. In art, there's no right or wrong answer. There's no off limits. You can't use this with that medium. It's simply if you use this and this together, you're going to get this effect. And knowing what your pencils will do depending on the different types of paper is going to help you to achieve the effect that you want. I'm not going to go into all of the different types of paper. I'm going to break it down into two categories, a smooth tooth paper and a rough tooth paper. Some papers, like certain types of watercolor paper, when you run your hand across it, is going to feel very rough and bumpy. That bumpiness on the paper is what we call a tooth. Now, why is it important? If you look really, really closely, you're going to notice that the paper is made out of these bumps, hills, valleys, divots, and when you run your pencil across those, it grabs the lead or the pigment off the pencil and holds on to it. So if you're using a super smooth paper with color pencils, you're going to find that the texture is really, really faint, and it's going to be hard to get layers or deep, deep, rich color. But I know artists that like really, really rough paper, and I know artists that like really smooth paper. It's all about personal preference. Before I go on to the second tip in this video, I'm going to go ahead and sketch out a kitten face really quickly here. And we'll be using this sketch throughout this video and the part 2 video. Once you have your sketch on the paper, it's time to start adding the color. I'm going to color one of these eyes as I would at my beginning level in coloring, and then show you the steps that I take to transform that eye into the level that I am now. So when I first started using color pencils, I kind of considered them the same way that I would consider color crayons when I colored as a kid. As I lay down the color for the cat's eye, I can be creative and think of adding different colors to things. So I don't have just blue. I have a little bit of blue and a little bit of green, but I'm not really working the color. And so this would be the level that I would end at. It's the colors there, it looks nice. Yeah, I left a little bit of white in the eye to add a shine, but if you look closely to the places where the color is, you're going to see that the white of the paper is kind of showing through. It's still kind of maybe missing something. So here's tip number 2. First, to make sure that your color pencil is sharp. On my art desk, I have right next to my colored pencils a pencil sharpener. For me, I use an electric pencil sharpener because I sharpen my pencils a lot. I also find that an electric pencil sharpener helps prevent breakage in my leads. Some artists enjoy using handheld, where you just kind of hold it in your hand and sharpen your pencils that way. And if it works for you, great. But for me, my leads are always breaking. So when I talked to some people at the art store and asked them their opinion, they said, get an electric pencil sharpener. It will save you so much. And it has. So I make sure that I work with a really sharp pencil. Now the problem with working with a really sharp pencil is that if you put any kind of harsh pressure to it, that point is going to snap. But that in itself is kind of a safeguard, because as you're working on your paper, you're not going to want to use a harsh pressure. If you use a harsh pressure on your paper, it's going to flatten out that tooth and going to make it hard for you to continue to add layers. Tip number 3 is begin to build up your layers slowly. So instead of just laying down my blob of blue and my blob of green, I begin to overlap them and go back over with other colors to blend those together. If you use a nice quality of colored pencil, you're going to find that they blend beautifully. The brands of colored pencils that I use are Prismacolor and Faber-Castell, and I'll leave a link to where I purchased my colored pencils and paper in the description box below. My final tip for using color pencils in this video is to take your time. And that's probably been the hardest one for me. I love to see my pictures finished. It's really hard for me not to rush through some of the steps to be able to say it's finished. But what I find is when I'm done, and as I look at it, I can tell it's not really done. The colors are in place, but they're just kind of laying there on top. Kind of like if you baked a birthday cake, but you were so excited to eat the cake that instead of actually letting it cool and putting the frosting on and going back in with some delicate piping and putting in those little sugar roses. Oh, I love those things. That you just kind of glopped the frosting on top until it oozed around the side and then cut it. It still tastes good, but it's not quite as awesome as it could have been if you would have put in the time to really smooth things out and add in those little details. So if you find that your color pencil work isn't exactly to the level that you want it to be, try slowing down and putting just a little bit more time. Now remember, these are just the first 3 tips that I have in using color pencils. And in fact, if you want to go into more depth about color pencil work, I have a whole playlist on using color pencils, and I'll put that in the description box below. When part 2 is made available, I will also have that linked in the description box below, so you can go and see that as well. I hope you found this video helpful and gave you some ideas on how to improve your color pencil work. If you're brand new to this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you are subscribed and you're finding that you're not getting any notifications, make sure to also click that little notification bell that you'll see next to the subscribe button. That will let you know as soon as I upload every video so you don't miss out. Also, I'm curious to know what brand of color pencils that you guys enjoy using, so let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching, God bless you guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye!